Welcome in to our full disassembly of the Synology DS218 Plus. And why are we taking this whole thing apart when I just got it a day ago? Well, the answer is because we have a stick of RAM here. It's a 4 gig stick of crucial DDR3L 1866 megahertz RAM. Well, if you just got one stick, why don't you use the customer-facing RAM expansion slot? Because we already did. This was a pair of two 4 gig sticks for a total of 8. Now what I want to do is take this thing completely apart and put the other stick in place of the factory 2 gig 1866 RAM. The reason being, then it can operate in dual channel mode and be mega fast, and I can have 8 gigs of RAM total in here, which is the maximum. So first thing, oh yeah, you can push up on this. First thing we're going to do is take out the drive caddies. That's drive bay 2 with nothing in it. Here's drive bay 1 with our our main drive, an HGST 4 terabyte. I don't know if you can see this or not, but right here we have the other 4 gig stick of RAM that we've put in yesterday, and that's working fine. We ran a full mem test on it, and it's all good. So now we need to go about actually disassembling this thing. And I have an iFixit guide over here on the Surface that explains how to do that. And this is just pretty much explaining what you're looking at as you take it apart. So now we're going to have to remove the case cover, which we do back here by taking off this one screw, which seems a little bit strange, one screw.
Yeah.
Now we need a bigger screwdriver. Here we go. Oh, hello, careful now. I'm going to try to not mess it up, because if for some reason this thing dies and I need to warranty it, well, none of this says warranty void if removed, so we're going to have a place where we'll keep our screws over here, and hopefully we won't lose anything or mix up what anything is. We don't need to remove the fan, apparently, so that's good. Now we have to remove the housing cover. Once that rear screw is taken out back here, the next thing you have to do is pull this whole housing back away from the inner metal chassis, which is a little bit tricky because of these here things. So, oh wait, not those things, these things. There's these couple of things right here. We have to pry that away. And I forgot to get them. I'm going to get my automotive trim removal tools. So you can pause that. Okay, we are now going to pry up on that thing. We have our automotive trim removal tools here. Just have to find the correct one. This is the one I think I'm going to want. That one's not bad either. Let's just see which one of these might work best. I've gotten quite a lot of use out of these. Don't twist the metal. The metal. It's a little bit tricky here because it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And which way is it going to go? It's going to slide back that way, I believe. Doesn't actually tell me, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it's going to go. Let me take a quick peek-a-roni at YouTube, and I want to see somebody actually doing it. Because I need to make sure I understand which way it's going to move. DS218. Alright, so here we are. We're going to pry back on this long enough to, oops. This is probably the trickiest part of this whole thing. Oh, I don't want to like lever on that RAM stick. That wouldn't be good. Not good at all. No. Wait, we gotta go this way, that way. Yeah. There, we got it.
Okay.
Okay, there's that. All right, so now we have this part of the clamshell case here has been removed. I just set that over there. Now, what do we have inside? We have the drive cage, right here. The next thing that we have to do is, I believe, remove, interesting, think. Where is he looking? Oh, it's right here, this part. So we gotta take this screw off. This is the spacer that's holding in the cage. It's one of the spacers anyway. Okay. Alrighty. Simply unscrew the screw to remove the spacer. And apparently it's keyed in some way. And it goes like this. If you can see that, that is the orientation at which it goes. And does that go into a slot or something? No, it just sits there. Oh, it sits on top of, does it sit on top of something? Trying to see, oh, back here, that's where the other screw was. That's that screw we took out in the back.
Yep.
It goes into this. So there's a screw here and one here, and together it's a spacer and also a structural member, I believe, keeps that kind of structurally intact. Now there's another spacer up here, which was the first one I noticed, and that one is a spacer that is holding the fan on. Now I believe the fan is not necessary to remove, but it's easier if you do remove it.
Oh.
So that's this piece, and that goes on. It's pretty obvious how that goes on. This part here, this lip, hooks over that part of the fan, and then it sits on top, and the screw goes in the smaller hole. Not the bigger hole, but the smaller hole, interestingly. Okay. You don't have to remove the fan according to this, but it is easier, they say, for the purposes of the tutorial, as the one that I'm reading here on iFixit. I'm trying to see if that's really necessary or not. I'm gonna try to get by without doing it, okay? Next, we need to remove the motherboard, and the way we do that is we remove these two screws here on the far outside, that one and that one. And then on the other side, we've got two more like that, so it looks like a total of 4. So let's take those off now. This is the moment where I'm wishing I had a magnetic screwdriver, because that makes things such as this easier. Not so much when you're removing the screws, but when you're putting them back in. But then again, these screws are pretty decently long, and that's usually what the problem is when you have to drop screws down into something, a deep well of some kind. If the screw length is very short, then you can't screw it in like with your fingers to get it worked in a little ways. So I think what this is doing is removing the drive cage that sits on top of, that's kind of tricky to get out. Oh. Yeah. You know what I think we might benefit from having is a set of tweezers. And do you know where there's a set of tweezers?
Yeah.
In your forensics kit.
So, I'm a part of it.
Yeah, let's go get it. You going? All right, so we got some little forceps there in case we need them. Okay, so now I've loosened the screws from the motherboard, and so that holds the whole motherboard and the drive cage down.
Yeah.
Now, some people I've seen take the drive cage off first, but to me that just makes it harder to pull the motherboard out because you got to get your fingers down in there. So if you leave the drive cage attached, you can just lift up on the whole thing. Now, as you lift up, you also need to pull it this way, away from the fan, because as you can see, it's got ports sticking through the back plane here, and you want to pull it away from that as you lift up, because you don't want it to, whoa, hang on. Oh, we've got tape. I missed something here. I have missed something. All right, hang on. What we have here is tape. This tape is taping the fan wire to the back of the case, and that's gonna probably just peel away as I pull back on this, but I'd prefer to, you know, actually, I can just peel it. There we go. There, that was easy. And, oh, but the fan is connected to this. We have to unplug the fan. So that means we have to lift this off completely, this tape, you see?
Yep.
And we have to unplug the fan itself. And I probably should have done this first, because if the motherboard was attached to the case, it would be easier. You have to push this thing in, it looks like. And see, the problem is, since I loosened the motherboard already, it's going to want to come up with me as I'm pulling or pushing on that. Lever this off. There we go. Okay, so there's the fan power connector. It's a 3-pin. And now, having disconnected that, we have to pull this tape completely off. This is a part I would prefer not to have done. I guess if I take the fan off with it, but I'd rather not do that. So I'm just going to peel this tape off carefully. There. Okay. There you go. All right. Now here's the other half of the case. I'm going to set that aside. Now what we have here is the drive cage. This is the motherboard. As you can see, on the back side we have the CPU. This is the heat sink for the CPU. But where's the RAM slot? You see any RAM slot on this? I don't. Mm-hmm. That's because it's on the back side of this board. But what's on the back side? Drive cage. That means we have to take the motherboard off the drive cage. And there are standoffs, like here's one, right? That's holding the motherboard to the drive cage, and that is the next thing we have to do. Removal of the disk bay, okay? That's gonna be actually these screws here, it looks like, that are holding it on. Yes, but is that enough? Hang on, let me look at my thing here. Remove the screws, then we have the motherboard. Yeah, I mean, that appears to be it. So it's these screws right here on this thing. Where are they exactly? Looks like here and here, and on the other side, here and here. So we're going to remove those. That should pop this drive cage off this thing. And then we need to make sure we remember the orientation, but it should be fairly obvious. Oh, the forceps are coming in handy already.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, so these are drive cage screws. There's 4 of them. So far, this is not difficult at all. Hasn't been anything that's been a pain in the butt to get at, so that's good. And once we have this drive cage off, then I believe we should be able to get at our RAM, and that's it right there. I can see it under this bump. That lunchbox-shaped bump sitting there in the drive cage. Underneath that is RAM slot 1, I believe. That reminds me of the catalytic converter bump in the floor of the passenger side of the 4th gen Trans Am. Okay, I always thought that was strange design. All right, here we go. There are the screws. Now this drive cage should come off, except it's kind of, oh, because there's a SATA connector over here. This thing that plugs into the board. That looks like a PCIe X1. Probably is. Okay. Drive cage, well, it only goes in one way. You have to find where that connector goes and put it in there. So that makes that easy. So now we still have a problem because this back plane is on. So I got, okay, now here's where we got to remove our standoffs. 1, 2, 3, and 4 in order to get this back part off so that we can get at our other RAM slot. Oops. So there is yet more disassembly necessary here. As you can see, there's our tape. We want to kind of not mess up. Stupid tape. There wasn't anything along the way that said warranty void if removed, which was good. I believe from what I have read that there is a warranty void if removed sticker on the RAM itself, but that the sticker does not get broken if you remove the RAM from the slot. That's how I understand it. We'll see though when we get to it, because right now we still can't even see the RAM because it's under that lunchbox bump. Here we go. There. Oh, these are kind of magnetic. Interesting. All right, so that's that. And there it is.
Yep.
There's our RAM slot. There is no warranty sticker on it. Fascinating. But as you can see, look how close it is to the customer accessible RAM slot. It's right there, but we couldn't get at it because, look, they covered it right up with this. So, tricky. Anyway, we're going to now open this up. This will allow us to eject the RAM slot. And that is a 2 gig stick of the same speed RAM, I believe.
Yep.
It is Synology RAM, DDR3L 1866 2 gigs, CAS level 13. So that's going to go in our little box over here, and we will instead pull out our Crucial DDR3L 1866 CAS level 13. So same timings and everything. We're now going to install that right here in the slot. So we insert it like about a 45-degree angle. Then we pull down until, hang on, I've got to make sure it's all the way in there. Which it doesn't really seem to be. Hello, man. Get in there now. There, I think that's got it. Yes. That got it? Yeah, seems to have it. Yeah. Okay, there we go. There is our matched set of Crucial RAM, 8 gigs in total.
So, we finished that.
We have finished the installation of our, oh, hold on, there, of our custom RAM. And now what we have to do is put it all back together.
Yep.